Hello, this is Rick Saltarelli with Salty Breeze Cruise Planners with this week's segment of Beyond Your Front Door. And today I have Bruce from Riviera Cruises with me. And Bruce is the National Sales Director. He covers both the United States and Canada. Welcome to our show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm so pleased to have you here because you are a cruise line that I have been following for a little bit of time now. But not everybody that's going to be listening to our broadcast will know who Riviera Cruises is. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about Riviera River Cruises?
Yeah, well, we're kind of the new guy on the block. I know many of you have heard about some couple other river cruises. You know, those are the ones that you see on the TV or getting in your mail every couple of weeks. I think there are some people, I know we mentioned that name has become synonymous like Kleenex or Xerox, but it's probably not what you want when you think about river cruising. It's just that name that you know. But we at Riviera, we're relatively new in North America, but we're not a new company. We've actually been around for 37 years now, out of the UK market, doing as an escorted tour operator, with the first tours back 37 years ago to the French Riviera, hence the name. Today, we're a global escorted tour operator out of the UK, and we started river cruising 13 years ago. And in about half that time, we became the #1 river cruise brand in the UK market, outselling all other river cruise lines. So with our, and I know this is probably another question, our current 12 ships, we outsell Viking in their 70 ships in Europe in the UK market. So that's how strong we are. We're very well regarded with the consumers and the travel professionals alike that we have. So we do sell just in Europe with our cruises, all the main rivers, top line ships. We have the youngest fleet in the European waterways with an average age of under 3 years. So you're going to have a very modern, well-kept fleet.
So that sounds awesome. So it sounds like when you built your fleet of boats, that you brought brand new boats on. You didn't buy somebody else's old hardware.
That's correct. And basically, and I am up front, we don't own all our ships. We actually have these long-term leases. So when they get old, we give them back and we get a new ship. And that's, we've actually turned over in the last few years about 3 or 4 ships. We just give them back and we've gotten new ships.
Absolutely. Awesome. And you've already answered my next question, which was that you have 12 boats on the European rivers.
That's correct. Yes.
Awesome. And is there a specialty that you feel Riviera does better than anybody else?
We do a number of things. We're very focused on the client experience. So we do a lot of our itineraries are different to really enhance the experience. That we have a very good price point. And that's one of the things that one of our niches. So we have a very high-end product. So we'd say top end of our premium market, which is just below luxury, but with a price point that's about 20% less than other lines at that same level. The other thing we do, and I know we may address this, is we cater to solo travelers because it's such a growing market. And so on every single departure we do, we have solo cabins. There's regular cabins for solo cruisers. Plus we have solo only cruises itself. So that's another niche. But again, the overall is we have a very high quality product, but a good value price point.
Great. And what would life be like on board a Riviera river cruise for somebody that perhaps has never been on one before?
Well, those of you who have not river cruised, maybe only ocean cruised, you take everything that you know about ocean cruising and throw it out the window. Okay, it's not like that. Think of river cruising as being in a small boutique hotel. So very intimate, fine service and dining, wonderful experiences. You're going to be able to talk and meet people much more socially because, again, everybody's there with a common interest pretty much and to experience the wonderful cities of Europe. So life on board is relaxed. Dinner for people, how do I dress for dinner? Is it more formal? It's like resort casual or country club casual, collared shirts and slacks for men, but women can basically get away with anything anyway, but Tours are included every day, but we have options and customized opportunities as well, just to cost. So it's a relaxed environment, but we do have some amenities on board that you'll find on our ships and the higher end product that you might not see on other cruise lines, river cruise lines, like a hair and nail salon, a massage studio, or a sauna and steam room, bikes on board, pools. I mean, you think about that on big ships, but you may not see that on river cruise ships where we have those options. That other brand that you might think of that you get in the mail all the time, they have closer to 200 people on board, and we're going to max out about 165, 166. So you're getting larger staterooms, less people, more public space, with more amenities. But with river cruising, it's a much more intimate feeling. You go on an ice still ocean cruise, don't get me wrong, but it's a totally different experience. You don't have the glitzy shows at night, but you'll have a piano player in the lounge every night playing for you. You'll have some onboard entertainment through the evening, but it could be again the piano player. It could be a show by the crew. It could be onboard entertainment we brought on board from shore, like a string quartet or local dance troupe. But you're not going to find those more intimate experiences on maybe an ocean ship, or at a local hotel for that matter. That's more of a boutique style, because that's what you have to equate it to as we started. Hope that helps a little bit.
Sure. And then, of course, when you're underway, you have that ever-changing, astounding view on both sides of the ship. So
well, and that's
always
the difference.
Something to see.
People want to hang out in their cabin when you're cruising down the river, especially during the day. And you don't want to hang your cabin, because when you're an ocean ship, you're sitting outside, you're looking at the ocean. You go to the other side of the ship, you're looking at the ocean. And on river ships, there's stuff going on in each side. So most people will congregate on the sun deck, and you can see that on the picture behind me, the top deck area. And because you have things going on both sides, and depending where you are, I mean, you've got the vineyards and castles and the beautiful cities. And the other part is when you're on your excursions, you're coming into our little towns and cities that we experience on river cruising, that you're stopping and you're into the heart of that city. You're getting off and you're in the middle of the town or city. Where on an ocean ship, it might take you an hour or an hour and a half to get there. Or I even think about the Caribbean. You get off the ship in some ports and you got to take a boat transfer to get to town, or a shuttle bus to get into town. Here you're just walking off and everything's right there in front of you. So
yeah, absolutely.
Marked differences. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of differences. And one of those differences you already elaborated on or talked about a little bit. One of the reasons I love your product is you are built itineraries, and every sailing has room for the solo traveler. And solo travelers always feel like they get a little cheated because they have to pay as if there's two people in the room. So could you elaborate a little bit on the solo traveler?
Yeah, so we take a handful of cabins, regular cabins that are meant for two people, but we designate them for one person, and we only charge for that one person instead of double the price. So you're getting a regular size cabin for yourself at a single rate. So you're not getting charged double if you went alone, which is a great opportunity to go on a river cruise if you have no one to travel with. And of course, whether you're just because that's the way you travel, or maybe your spouse companion doesn't like to travel, or they have to stay at work, or maybe you're a bunch of ladies who travel together once a year all the time, but you're tired of sharing rooms. You're at that age, I don't want to share a room anymore. You don't mind, but So now everybody can have their own cabin without having to do that. So on every single departure, we have those designated cabins. They are lower deck that you're only paying for yourself. Then we also have our solo only cruises. So we offer a host of cruises throughout the season, and now through 21 and 22, where we have specific departures where we take the entire ship. And on our largest ships, we have like 166 passengers, and we take the entire 86, because some are solo, 86 cabins, and we have maxed out at 86 passengers. Every single cabin from top to bottom is only for one person, and we won't even sell doubles. Though we have had married couples come along, but they both get their own cabin. That doesn't happen. Someone snores, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I've actually sold solo cabins on other cruise ships, ocean-going cruise ships for the same concept. It's a couple that they don't share the same bedroom at home, so they each have their own stateroom on a ship. So that's always an option as well.
Yes. So I will say that our solo, where the entire cruise ship is for solos, the price point though is not 200%. It's probably about 20 to 25% bump, just because it's the entire ship. But honestly, talk about these days with social distancing. It's kind of built in automatically there.
And it's a great way to meet like-minded travelers, other solo travelers.
And the other difference when it comes to Riviera is that we only sell and have people on board. English is the only language spoken on board. Where you have a lot of cruise lines, whether the ones that you know or have heard of, they'll sell into throughout Europe and the world, and you have people, and you wind up with pockets of different languages on board. And on Riviera, though we have a very worldwide international clientele base, everybody speaks English because we have our home country, which is the UK or British Isles. We opened up Australia market about 5 years ago or so. So you get the Australians and Kiwis or New Zealanders. And then we have North America with US and English-speaking Canada primarily that are now coming on board. So people from throughout the world, but everybody speaks one common language. And not that it's bad to have the French and the Italians and Germans on board, but the difference with that is they all just wind up in their little pockets. The Italians speak to the Italians, the Germans speak to the Germans, the French speak to the French, and there's no intermingling. Now you have that whole ship that you have those people that you can meet and interact with.
Sure, that's awesome. And do you have a favorite itinerary that you want to share?
There's a couple. Every single river offers its own unique charm. But my first itinerary, the first full itinerary I did, I guess I could say, I did a combination of the Rhine and Moselle. And the Rhine River, and that's one of the other unique things that we do. We start most of our Rhine River cruises in Cologne, Germany, and work our way down or finish in Cologne, because where other cruise lines start in Amsterdam, they lose a day and a half because it's Amsterdam, the next stop would be Cologne. So that 1.5 day sailing, not that you lose it, but that's really primarily industrial. So for that first day and a half, as you're cruising down the river, the only thing you're looking at is factories and warehouses. You might see a windmill on the way out of town or a church, but otherwise it's just open fields of factories and warehouses, because everything you want to see on the river is from Cologne south. So we do a round trip Cologne cruise. So we start in Cologne, we work our way down, but in Koblenz, you have where the two rivers meet, so the Rhine and the Moselle, and we make a right-hand turn into the Moselle River, and we head out that way, and through a bunch of locks. And the Moselle River, and if you know about the Riesling wines, these are Moselle River wines, that's like the Rieslings, but amazing. But as you cruise down the river banks are like this, with the vineyards at 45-degree angles along the river bank, with spattered with some castles. But you wonder how the people tending to these vineyards just don't roll down the mountain all the time, decide into the water. And so it's just beautiful. And you get to Cochem in Trier, and Trier is just we busted there about a half hour or so, 45 minutes from where we drop you off into Trier, where we spend the full day with a guided tour and then free time on your own. But Trier has it's an old world Roman city, and there's actually a structure there right in the town square called Porto Negro, and it dates back to the Roman times. I mean, it's millennial, BC, I think it was built, type of thing. And it's just spectacular to look at, and what the transitions it went through. And then coming back to Bernkastel, again, the vineyards, and walking through, and you do some wine tasting, and then back into the Moselle from Koblenz. And I know you may not know any of these cities, but you will learn them and see them. And Rudesheim, and then coming back to Cologne on the 7th day. So we're going to come back to Cologne, so you get to see the city that you began or ended in, without having to get on the ship and getting off the ship and going home. So we'll have a guided tour there. Free time, we overnight also in Cologne, so you can go out and experience the town at night as well. So you get that extra where the ship becomes your hotel in this wonderful city. And Cologne Cathedral is just spectacular. So this is one of my favorite. And the other thing about the Rhine River is as you get south of Koblenz, around every single turn, it's another castle. Yeah. I mean, they could go back a few hundred years to, 1,000, 1,500 years that are along this. But again, every other turn is another castle. We as North Americans, we love seeing castles because we don't have them here. But it's funny to listen to the Brits on board the ship because there's like the ABC route, which means another bloody castle. So anyway, but we love seeing castles. So
yes,
that's
we do.
One of my favorites. I will also say that I love Budapest. So on the Danube, and I love the Danube cruises. Budapest is an amazing city, so I've got it. And we start or end our cruises on the Danube there as well. So
yeah, and I agree. Fabulous city. And what would you say to somebody that's considering their first ever river cruise? They haven't chosen who they're going to go with or where they're going to go. They're not even sure they want to go. What would you say to them?
I'd say, if you're looking for a really wonderful experience to see a lot, but also a very laid back and relaxing experience, because I know when I've done some traveling myself and you're on tour, and you're on the bus or off that bus or just touring around, it's very tiring. But being on a river cruise takes all that stress out. And you're in the heart of these amazing cities and towns throughout Europe. And you're really going to grab onto that history as well that is associated with these regions. And of course, if you're going to do it, I would hope you look at Riviera and take one of our amazing cruises. For most people, their first experience would be either on the Rhine or the Danube. And there are different options on both. But we do things differently because we do these round trip Cologne cruises on the Rhine. And we also do round trip Budapest cruises on the Danube. And we do that, for instance, I talked to you why we don't start in Amsterdam. The reason we do round trip in Budapest for our Danube cruises, and we get to really experience everything that all the other lines do, and then some, because we come back to Budapest, because we're looking at the big picture. I mentioned earlier, we're focused on the guest experience. And what happens is that other cruise lines will start in Budapest and they'll finish out someplace in Germany, say maybe Passau, they could arrive the day before overnight. But the closest airport to get home is a minimum of a 2.5-hour bus transfer. And that means you have to get up in the wee hours of the morning to make that 2.5-hour transfer to be at the airport 3 hours ahead of time for your flight home at say 9, or connecting flights, it's going to be in the morning sometime. And so you've traveled over half the day, almost the full day, and you haven't even gotten your flight home yet. So yes. We come back to Budapest, so you know what I'm talking about. And that takes away from that whole experience. So we come back to Budapest where the airport is 25 minutes from where all the cruises port to stop. So it makes that difference. It's about that whole experience. That's just another reason to pick Riviera.
Sure. And so my final question for you today is kind of more of a comment. Somebody that's looking to book a Riviera cruise can only do it through a travel agent. And that's something that we really appreciate in our industry. And I was wondering if you could just maybe give us a little color on that.
Well, you know what? We value our partners, and you are our professionals. Now, I'll be honest. If someone calls us, we're not gonna like turn them away, and we'll book them, but we're gonna turn it back to you as our partner travel professional, because you know your business. You can handle that client from the time they leave the home to the time they get back home better than we can. So we rely on you to take care of them, getting them to the airport if that's what they need, and booking if they need the flights and their seats or their travel insurance, because we know we won't travel without insurance these days, to, from soup to nuts. And you might want to come to that particular town or city before you get there, and they can help you and advise you better on maybe a hotel to stay and some of those things you might want to see before you get on the river cruise or after. So we only work with our wonderful travel advisor partners. And even if you call us directly, we're going to turn you back to them because they do such a wonderful job for us.
Well, we really appreciate it. And I've been talking with Bruce from Riviera River Cruises. My name is Rick Saltarelli. I'm with Salty Breeze Cruise Planners, the place where we help create lifelong lasting memories. If you're looking for more information, please give us a call, 888-332-8202. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate you being with us today.
Thanks. Thank you.